All right, welcome to our Winter 2024 career event. Tonight we have a couple of alumni for you to listen to and hear their stories. We have somebody from the Career and Life Design Center, and then we have Jeffrey Granite from Oakland County who will share some information about transferable skills and networking and things like that for you to think over. So we'll start with Yeji. Go ahead.
Hi, would I be able to share my screen?
Okay, you should be able to now.
Awesome. All right. Well, hi everyone. My name is Yeji, and I'm the current life design coach. I work for the College of Arts and Science, and I'm really glad to be here. And thanks for having me. So I have a lot to say about like what we can offer for you in terms of our services, but I'll try to keep it pretty brief and very high level. So at the Career and Life Design Center, there are many ways that you can interact with us. The career coaches that will work with the College of Arts and Science are designated for you. So we have coaches for per college. So that's something that we can specialize in and help you out along the way. And of course, the career coaching that you get with us is for life. Once you enter OU and until you feel like you're ready to spread your wings. And, even when you spread your wings, you're welcome to come back just so that we can connect. And, like the alumni that are here today, I think it's wonderful that we are still able to connect with all of you. And we love, what you're doing out there and having you contribute back to, us and help the students, get some insight into what it's like to be out there. Another thing that I just want to emphasize is that career is a lifelong journey, and that you don't have to always know what you want to do right now, even as a college student. Even if you have picked a major in English or creative writing, you don't have to have it all figured out. I think alumni here can also probably speak to that too. And I can also speak that to for you guys too. Like I chose a major and I'm doing something that's pretty much different from what I thought I would be doing back then. So just having that kind of in mind, I think will help you ease some of that anxiety. So the Career Studio, I would love for everyone to just come by and get their resume and cover letter reviewed by, one of our career ambassadors who will be able to just walk you through that process. Our current hours are from Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we can also help you out with like Handshake, LinkedIn, headshots. The headshots are free and not a service that a lot of people know about. And you can also request for workshops on these services, and that's the QR code that you can use to request a workshop. When you're making an appointment with a professional staff like myself, you can meet us virtually or in person, and we are actually open all year round. So if you are, around the area and you want to meet us in the summer when times are a little bit slow and you have time to, work on like your resume or you want to practice your interviews, you're always welcome to come back. We offer services from mock interview, job internship search, career exploration, career fair preparation, LinkedIn and networking, and we can also review your personal statements if you're applying for a grad school. So Handshake, I have to talk about because there's just so many things that we do through Handshake, and there are not only hundreds of on-campus jobs you can look into, but a lot of 20,000 plus internship opportunities. There are 92,000 job postings and 5,000 student and alumni attendees are engaging in recruitment and networking opportunities through Handshake. So on Handshake, you'll see that there is a resource section where you'll be able to find a lot of like resume guides and cover letter guides, also like samples, resume samples that are like career or English majors for a creative major. So for any major, you'll be able to find a resume sample you can look into and refer back to. I think the interviewing guide is also really helpful. You can make appointments on Handshake. So if you go to the appointments section, you'll be able to find a career coach that you want to meet with. And you can also register for events on Handshake. So always looking out for opportunities to network and connect with other people is a great way for you to explore and make the most useful time out of your time at OU. So I really highly recommend that you attend an event, once a month, if that's possible. You can also apply for jobs on Handshake. That's pretty easy to do once you have a resume uploaded. And there are other resources that we can show you too. Once you come into our career studio, we'll introduce you to Big Interview where you can scan your resume and get that feedback. We're living in a world where a lot of things are just digitally reviewed. So Big Interview will help us really give you the feedback based on the industry trends, give you recommendations based on how your resume will be read by an ATS system. So an automatic tracking system. So making sure that you're utilizing keywords that are going to be important for you to apply for a certain job. And then we also do assessments. So you can do a Focus 2 OU assessment, which will really help you assess your academic strengths, career readiness, and work interest, which are all important for you to figure out in order for you to not only choose a major, but also your career. These are just some of the resume tips that I would just leave as a last note. So a lot of the things you probably know by now, but just make sure that you're editing and getting it reviewed by somebody, making sure that resumes are kept to 1 to 2 pages in length. Keep the style and verb tense, all of that consistent. I think it's important that you are making your resume visually appealing because a lot of times resume is the first impression of you from the employer. You don't have to use any I statements, and always make sure that you are putting the order's important information first. So prioritize whatever you think is the most important and relevant thing. So for example, if you are applying for a job that will require certain skills, you may put the skill section above your experience. And again, the resume guide is really helpful and it's on Handshake. And make sure that you're scanning your resume with Big Interview. The Career and Life Design Center is located at North Foundation Hall, room 103. You can scan this QR code and we can get connected. And if you are interested in, working with us, we also have job opportunities too at our office for career ambassadors. So, keep that in mind. And that is about it for me.
Okay, thanks, Yeji. A lot of good information there, so make sure you reach out to the center to, take advantage of all those services. All right, now we're going to hear from Jeff Granite, and he works with Oakland County, and you can tell us a little bit about your title and your responsibilities and so forth, and then maybe you can give us some information about how our students can seek the skills that they need and opportunities and things like that. Any advice you can offer will be very useful, I'm sure.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you so much for having. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Granite. I'm a recruiter at Oakland County Government in Waterford. I've been here for a little over 2 years. Previously, I worked in workforce development for 15 and a half years, doing career service activities, helping people figure out what they want to do, helping with resumes, cover letters, stuff of that nature. So this type of work is very important to me. Anytime I can work with the different schools and help job seekers, students kind of figure out what they want to do and help them move forward, I'm all about it because I know how important it is. And I remember when I was in school and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, I was a little nervous about asking for help. So I try to give back as much as I can to encourage people. Now, there are some people that know what they want to do, and then there's other individuals that don't know what they want to do. And that's okay, because you may change your mind quite a bit over time. If you know what you want to do, then in your job search, you need to make sure that you're being very targeted in what you're doing, and make sure that you show how you add value. When you apply for a job, you need to show in your resume or your application how you're going to add value moving forward, and how you've added value in the past. So the employer wants to see how you're going to make them money, or how you've saved them money, or resolved problems. They don't want to see a laundry list of every duty that you've ever done. They want to see how you're going to provide solutions to the problems that they may have. So you need to research the employer, research the job posting, and then make sure that you show, how you can do what they're asking for. Now, in another regard, if you're not sure what you want to do, no worries. Don't put pressure on yourself to figure out what you want to do. There's a lot of resources available. First, you can do research. There's a lot of books, there's a lot of websites out there, there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help. Feel free to ask questions of people, whether it be at colleges. You can take advantage of people like me. There's a website called LinkedIn, which is a great networking site. Start building relationships with people, reach out to people, ask them questions. Now, there'll be some people willing to help, and then other people who may be a little bit less willing to help. Don't be discouraged. It's not because they don't want to help. Some people just don't know how to help. So just don't be discouraged. Keep trying, and keep pushing forward. Let's see here. It's a long journey, a long process, but it is exciting because you have the opportunity to kind of talk to people, learn about what you want to learn about, and kind of figure out what you want to do. There may be, some family members or friends that tell you what you may want to do, but here's the thing. They're not going to be the people doing that job every day. You're going to be the person doing that job. So you have to think about what's important to you, what values that are important to you, and what you want in a job/career. And it may be that you want something temporary for a couple years to get your feet wet and then move into something else. And that's okay too. Now, currently I work at Oakland County government. I've worked in government, I've been here for 2 years. Excuse me for 1 second. My son is being noisy. I'm so sorry. So working in government, currently at Oakland County, we've got over 20 different departments. So I talk to people about the different departments. I talk to them about the different job opportunities, and I help people learn about whether that opportunity is for them. A big part of my role is educating people and then helping them decide whether the role is for them. I'm not going to sell somebody on a role that's not their cup of tea, because if they end up leaving, that's not a win-win for anybody. So it's in my best interest to help educate people on a career that they want or a job that they want, and help them make the best decision for themselves. Any questions?
Jeffrey, thank you so much. That was terrific. And if anyone does have questions right now, please shoot them out right away. Otherwise, we'll move on to our alumni, and we'll save all the questions for alumni afterward. Anybody have a question for Jeffrey Granite?
Kind of. I'm actually a resident of Waterford, and I recently applied to a couple different jobs to work within the Waterford government. Utility billing clerk, just for an example, just to get myself into sort of that role. For creatives, is there something within the Oakland County job opportunities that would, relate to someone who is good with their words or good with writing?
Absolutely. Yes, you know what? I got so excited with that what I was talking about that I forgot to mention that. So currently right now we've got, we add new opportunities each week, but we've got a communications and marketing assistant position. This is an entry level-ish type position where you work on different marketing and journalist communication type activities. Um, we have a variety of job opportunities in these different departments. We add new opportunities regularly. We do have a Department of Public Communications that posts job opportunities regularly. They've got close to 20 people in their department, and they've got digital positions that are available sometimes. They've got some of the more communication opportunities available. And we recently just posted more of a management type opportunity for a creative operations officer position. So it just kind of varies from time to time. Um, so at Oakland County, we've got close to 5,000 employees. So a lot of the roles are more of specialist type roles. But what I would tell somebody is you should branch out and leave your options open. You don't want to become too much of a specialist, because as time goes on, and if some areas become obsolete, you don't want to have cornered yourself so that you don't have options for yourself. So being a strong communicator will never go obsolete. Being strong digitally will never become obsolete. It's just certain technologies might go out of style, but as long as you're keeping up on the different technologies that are available, your skills will always be needed. Just like somebody with numbers, guess what? You're never going out of style, because we're always going to need somebody to, handle money. That's never going away.
And Jeffrey, I just want to add, because I think that your point about the communication and marketing assistant role is a terrific one. I will also say that I've had several creative writers and English majors land development assistant roles. So those are the kinds of words that you want to zero in on, because those are writing related, analysis related. They need communication skills, both oral and written. And so I think if there are any other keywords, Jeffrey, that would be great for students to know.
Public relations, journalism, stuff like that. A good place to get your feet wet, to be frank with you, is in a nonprofit organization, because they have people wear many hats. So you can get a good start there, sometimes as an intern, and then you can get hired on. And then that gets your feet wet and you can develop. And then later on, you can move to a different organization, or you can start off in the corporate world. But I feel like a great place to develop is in a nonprofit organization, because you have to do more with less. It helps you really appreciate and really get creative with your skills and abilities.
Have you ever run into anyone who's volunteered with 826 Michigan, for example, since we're talking about nonprofits?
I have not, but
we have had, excuse me, we have had students volunteer with them successfully in the past. They are a great organization. But I think Jeffrey's point is exactly right, that these nonprofits are a terrific way of getting a very broad span of skills. Sorry, Jeffrey, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no problem. Because you can do more. There's certain areas that you do an internship or a job and you just get, I wouldn't even say stuck, but you have to work in a certain role and that's all you do. But for somebody that wants to do a little bit of everything, nonprofit gives you that exposure, and they may even let you stretch beyond what the role may be. As challenging as that may be, that kind of helps get you to the next step. Not in all instances, but I, was working in that nonprofit. And I got a lot more opportunities than I may have gotten otherwise. They're there for the taking.
That's a great point. Anybody else have questions? All right. Well, thank you so much, Jeffrey. You are just so generous and so helpful. And I know the students, especially Vanessa, really appreciated that. I don't know if you mind putting your email in the chat.
Absolutely. No problem.
Thank you. Thank you. And that way, Vanessa, if you do want to do some networking, reach out to Jeffrey after the event. That will probably help you in your job search. All right. Thank you again. So let's go to our alumni. So I'm going to start off with Chanel Hermes. Chanel is a content project coordinator at ProQuest. That's correct, right, Chanel?
Ooh, no.
No.
Legal
Okay.
technical writer.
Technical writer. My
Close
apologies.
enough.
Okay. Even better, because technical writing is actually one of the jobs that I tell people to go look for. So please go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm currently a legal technical writer for a company called Credit Acceptance. They're based in Michigan, but I work fully remote, which is my preference. I really enjoy remote work. I'd say don't be scared of it. I was a little nervous about it when I graduated because I graduated in 2020. So it was when like everything shut down and I didn't really know what to do. But I've only had remote jobs since I graduated and I really liked it. That's something you can definitely look out for and even bring up in interviews as like if you want a hybrid schedule. Just something to look out for. It's pretty cool, but yeah, I didn't really know what tech writing was that much when I graduated from OU. I have a double major in English and communications, but I wasn't too familiar with it. So I honestly kind of took a random job. It didn't really involve much writing. I was helping people set up websites, which is really unusual for me. But I was able to talk to my manager at the time and tell them that I liked writing. So I was put on a couple of special projects where I could do copywriting for new clients. And that was really cool. And it wasn't like immediately in my job description, but I was able to just talk through it and say, like, if there are any opportunities to write, let me know. And I'm glad I did that because that experience actually helped me get my next job, which was at Flagstar Bank as a business procedure writer. And that was my entryway into technical writing. There's a whole lot you can do with tech writing. There's policy writing and procedures. Sometimes you can even like create job aids for specific processes. You can even write like car manuals and stuff if you wanted to do that. Not the most exciting, but it's pretty cool to be able to write it all in like the corporate sphere. Yeah, I do legal technical writing, so I'm reading a lot of regulations and such and making sure that we're compliant. It's not exhilarating, but it's pretty cool. I wasn't sure that I'd be able to find a corporate job or one with any flexibility in which I could write. So they are definitely out there. I'd also say apply for jobs that you think you're unqualified for. Like my current job wanted 8 years of legal experience and 8 years of tech writing experience, and I had like a year solid of tech writing experience in a professional environment. So, you know, aim high and you can get there. It does help to have a writing portfolio, even if it doesn't have any type of tech writing in it or proposal writing or whatever you're looking into, just to show that you can write, because that's obviously a skill that you can apply. So I'm sure you know if you're in these programs. So yeah, I don't know. I think
That is terrific, Chanel. Thank you so much. And my apologies for having misread the
it's fine.
yeah, no, okay. But I love the fact that you talked your way into this job. And that's part of what basically they want to hear, that you have the skill to talk and to communicate. And as soon as they hear you guys in action, things that you practice all the time in your English classes, they are going, oh, hire this person because this person knows how to communicate. So thank you again. And I just wanted to footnote one thing, Chanel, which is that for some of the car companies, if you are writing these manuals, you also can write screenplays, because they film the manuals now. There's a lot of things that they've gone paperless and gone to video, and so that's a reason to go, hey, I have a screenwriting class, and then they will see that as job experience. So just as an FYI. So Chanel, maybe you want to come back and take a screenwriting class. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. You might see me.
I would love that. All right, so next we're going to Katie, who is a digital marketing specialist at Ryder and Walsh. And Katie was very kind. You will explain the two different versions of your resumes
Oh, yeah.
because I love that you did that, because that is so cool. Folks need to realize that they can spin the work that they've done in a number of different ways. So go ahead, take it away.
So I submitted the two different resumes. Anytime you're making a resume, it's good to customize it for the job that you're applying for. This is for two reasons. One, to prioritize for the job, and two, if it's being run through a computer, which is very likely, it's going to look for a lot of the keywords that were in the job description. So that way you can prioritize accordingly. Like if this one wants communication skills, you can make sure to list that first. Like for my more fun one, it was an application to Discord. So they're a digital communications platform. It's mostly for gaming, but people use it for a lot of other group talks nowadays and voice chat and stuff. So they're more of like a nerdy startup-y fun culture. So I kind of took a more fun angle with the resume to kind of get their attention. I didn't hear much feedback from that, but wasn't important. The other one I did a bit more professional. So it's like much more straightforward. I was applying to a law firm at the time for the role that I'm in now. So I still made sure to include like a little bit of color, because like that's just the kind of person I am. I'm a creative sort. I was applying for a creative position, but then I still kept everything very by the book. I like to prioritize my skills, because there's just a lot of skills that you pick up through different hobbies, different careers. Whatever jobs that you've been in, you've probably accumulated something that's going to be useful. And I think one of the biggest things I would say is all the skills that you've picked up doing hobbies are just as relevant as anything you've done in the career space. So I do a lot of gaming for fun. So I'll run D&D campaigns, I'll organize online groups to play, and that's given me a lot of experience that I can say on my resume of I'm good at planning events, I'm good at organizing groups, I'm good at remote communication. And like in reality, what I'm doing is messaging my friend in Washington, asking if he wants to play games and coordinating with a bunch of other people. But that's still relevant. And like if I go on social media and I promote this tournament that I'm running or something, that's event planning, that's marketing. And all of that ends up being relevant. And in regards to networking, literally network with everybody. That's not just going to a place and handing out a business card. That's you meet somebody at a Zoom call like this. You meet somebody at a critique group at the library. You meet somebody doing video games online that you happen to share professional stuff with. Like that friend in Washington, I ended up being a professional reference for him because he did our website for my online gaming community. So I was able to be like, hey, this is my experience working with this person. And he could be like, oh yeah, this is the person who basically did the marketing for our volunteer project, which again is just a gaming community online. But the way that we handled it, you could still pull professional skills out of that as to how it can be applied in a different environment. So when I graduated, I started at a publishing company for magazines. They're really boring magazines. They're business to business. So it was like the roofing contractor magazine that goes out to roofers in the area and talks about roofing industry things and roofing equipment and stuff like that. But what I did was I was managing their website. I was posting their content online. So I was tweaking some of the print stuff to be more relevant to an online audience. So that was very Englishy skills of knowing the audience that you're applying your content to. Doing a little bit of editing, shortening stuff up, because like if it's for the web, it's got to be a little snappier than if it's a magazine in print. I stayed there for a while, but every time there was an opportunity for something interesting, much like Chanel is doing, where I was like, hey, I like doing graphics. Where's an opportunity to do graphics? And then I started getting a few projects that were relevant to that. And that was really cool. And then we had our SEO person leave. SEO is search engine optimization. So it's anytime you're rephrasing something so that way it can be picked up by Google a little bit better. Our SEO person left, and I was like, hey, I find this kind of interesting. And as an English major, I'm really good at rephrasing things and kind of figuring out alternate ways of saying stuff, pulling out what somebody is looking for when you see like search queries or something. You're like, okay, what's this person actually looking for? And how can I add that into a headline for this article so that they'll find it when they search that? So SEO is kind of where I settled. That was not something that I had ever conceived of when I was in college, because we weren't really gaming Google that much at the time, but now it's like a huge thing. And I feel like my ability to work with words and kind of play around with them and identify the key areas and the headlines and stuff like that was really relevant to both my degree and then what became my career. Eventually I moved on. So now I'm at a law firm. I do a much more like many hats role, kind of like what Jeffrey was talking about earlier, because it's a small firm. So there's less than 20 people there. They're very specialized. So what my firm does is they only take medical malpractice cases involving birth injury, which also sounds very complicated. Basically, if something happens at birth and a child gets basically permanent brain injury, we advocate for those children and we make sure they get lifetime care. But because of that very niche thing, our website has really focused content. So my like research skills from college were super relevant because I was going through academic articles and then we produce content. So I was writing for that as well. So another use of the English degree, and also a huge benefit from working at the writing center. So I was familiar with all of like the medical research and stuff from helping with nursing papers. So being familiar with that kind of language, and then also being able to take that academic language and make it into a more processable language for the random person who's Googling at 2 in the morning. Then some of the other stuff that I do at that job is I work with a couple coworkers. We do social media content. We've been interviewing our staff to kind of figure out like what's a little snippet we can put on TikTok that's good to get to know us. What's something we can put on YouTube that would be a little bit longer, and like learning those social media platforms was another thing that I kind of did for fun, but then later became relevant to my job. So literally anything you're doing for fun, even if it's scrolling on TikTok, can be applied to a job situation. So, but yeah, my current job is wearing many hats. I really enjoy the lots of different creative outlets there because we get to conceptualize a lot of different projects. We have to figure out a lot of ways to try and reach our intended audience, especially for my firm because it's so niche. So we got to figure out like who are we looking for? We're looking for young parents who have gone through this thing that is very dramatic and involving medical stuff. How can we reach them? How can we reach them in a sympathetic way? And being able to frame that language and also provide information has been absolutely key with my English degree, of knowing how to both read information and then reprocess it, spit it out in a way that is both persuasive and empathetic and all of those rhetorical things that you want to hear in any promotional content. So that was kind of my career journey.
Oh, that was so cool. I just loved hearing about how you two were able to do creative thinking, pulling in your hobbies as well as your experiences in the job, and then just jumping on that SEO. That I didn't even know that that was a job, search
Yeah,
engine
and like, it's
optimized.
so interesting because SEO people end up coming from tons of different areas. So you get a lot of like interdisciplinary stuff. Like you'll get somebody who was in history who fell into it, or you'll get somebody who was like super scientific programming sort that fell into it. And then it just overlaps a lot of areas. So it's really interesting.
Well, and this is the thing to emphasize again and again with the English and creative writing degree, is that it is so adaptable. It is so flexible. You can go into so many different things. I mean, you mentioned having worked at the writing center and you help nursing students with their papers, and that exposed you to that language, and so you were able to adapt to medical writing. I did the same thing after college. I had just a BA, and I ended up being the editor for a urologist, and this guy had a lot of med students who had to publish, and so it's the same thing. Once you're out there and you're just kind of going, hey, and you make these connections, as you said so well, Katie. I'm going to stop talking now so that we can go to Adam. So Adam is the Global Commercial Counsel at Drive Automotive. And so please take it away.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So first off, thanks to Professor Gillison for setting this up. I think this is great for students. Thanks for all the students for being here and the students who are listening to this thing. So I appreciate it. So, I mean, the quick bio is, yeah, I'm the lead counsel for a big automotive division. I've been an elected official. I was a partner at one of the big law firms in Michigan, but the bio stuff, that's all the boring stuff, and we can get to that. I'll tell you the most important things. One of the things I learned at OU is don't bury the headline. The most important thing that I can tell you is that in all my jobs, I've been out of OU for a while. I think I'm the old guy in this panel, but in every single day, in every single one of my jobs, I am using the skills that I picked up at Oakland University. That is not an overstatement. That is not a joke. I can point to really, really specific things. So first off, I was a double major, English and political science. English particularly, it doesn't matter whether I am talking to the division president, whether I was talking to a judge, whether I was talking to a jury, whether I was talking to constituents trying to get their vote, whether I was talking to fellow law firm partners. In all of those circumstances, every single day, you're crafting a narrative. A nonfiction narrative, right? But you're telling a story with the facts that exist in a way that is compelling, that convinces people to join your cause, that they want to join that team, that they want to collaborate, that they can see your point of view, even if they disagree with it, every single day. And that's the skills that you pick up in an English major, by far, every single day, particularly writing. There's another part of OU that really, really helped me. And so I was student body president at the time when I was 20 years old. And that was a phenomenal experience. At 20, you get, I think we had a budget of like a couple $1,000,000. You've got, a staff, I think we charged we paid people $8 an hour. We had like a staff of 8 students, but you've got to listen to your constituents. You were elected. What are their concerns? What are their worries? How are you going to address them? And you've got a lot of leeway. They gave us a lot of room to go and develop programs and services that were going to benefit students. You've got to go execute that. And you've got to rally a bunch of different people from a bunch of different backgrounds, all to a common cause. Every single day, that is exactly what I'm doing in all of my roles. And please don't mishear. That doesn't mean you have to run for student body president this spring. I'd love it if you did. That's great. I can't say enough good things about it. OU has a ridiculous number of student organizations. It did when I was there. It still does. There are so many opportunities to try new things and to spread your wings and to experiment and to take chances in an environment that's low risk. When I was student body president, I made mistakes. I made mistakes all the time, but the consequences weren't that bad at the end of the day. Being the lead attorney for a $3 billion international global division, the consequences are a little worse today. And so you got this environment to try different things in a really, really safe way. And so I can't advocate that enough. I was just on campus actually a couple of weeks ago for an event, and I saw all the signs in the Oakland Center for all the things that are happening around campus. And I was jealous of you guys. I really was, to be able to have and be able to try so many different things all in one place. And so I would say don't pass that up, because this is your chance to find out what makes you tick. What gets you excited to get up at 6:30 in the morning or whatever it is? What gets you really fired up? And what are your passions? Because that is going to be your compass all through life. And no matter what you do, I don't care what your job is, I don't care what your background is, your trajectory is not going to be a straight line. That is not how this works, right? There are going to be twists and turns and meandering, and you want to be able to predict it. I mean, I certainly couldn't. And that's true of all of us, but you use that compass of what your passions are. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do when I was at OU. I thought I'd like politics because I love the student government thing, but I wasn't sure. And I had friends who were really, really young who had run for the state house and won, or the state senate. But once you're termed out, they hadn't had a job yet. And so it was really struggle for them. So I really wanted to go build some more skills just in case I didn't like politics. So I went to law school. I love law school at the University of Michigan. It was a great experience. Still wanted to try politics, but also, again, I wanted that substantive background of practicing law just in case it didn't work out. So always have a plan B and a plan C and a plan D and a plan E. And so that's what I did. So I joined one of the big firms in downtown, Honigman. That's where I first got introduced to automotive. I loved it, but I still had this in the back of my head. I still wanted to try politics. But again, I wanted to do it in sort of a risk-free way. So I joined and ran for city council in Rochester Hills. Absolutely loved it. Great, great experience. And it was sort of a microcosm of a lot of what government is. You really feel like you're helping the community. You know, there's not a lot of the games that you hear about when you turn on, pick your local news station. I mean, you're talking to your constituents, you're hearing their needs, you want to help them out and try to do some good. And then I was appointed to a vacancy on the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. What the heck is a Board of Commissioners? Think of it this way. It's the legislative body for Oakland County. It's like the Congress of the county, essentially, is what that is. So there were 21 county commissioners at the time. And that was a very different experience. And again, I'm really glad that I tried all these different things, because for the very first time in my life, it was partisan. You got to put an R or a D next to your name. I had never had that before, not in city council, certainly not at OU. You're just a person trying to do some good, and it begins and ends there. Once you introduce partisanship into play, it really, really changes that dynamic in a way. I mean, listen, I was a poli-sci major, but I didn't appreciate it until I did it. And this is not a speech saying that politics is bad and terrible. I have a lot of respect for nearly every single politician you can name, maybe with a few exceptions. But the vast majority of people I have ever met are really, really trying to do the right thing on both sides of the aisle. But you've got to be wired a certain way. And I don't think I was wired that way to continue down that path. And because you had a lot of retired state legislators and board of commissioners who were term limited out, it was a microcosm of Lansing and a little bit of Congress. So it was sort of the same dynamic on a really tiny scale. And so I decided I didn't want to go through politics. But one of the things I did love doing was I was acting as an outside general counsel for automotive suppliers. I was doing that in that private practice. I was like, God, this is really cool, because I'm not just a lawyer who goes to court, who waits to get a phone call from a client who says there's some fire, you got to put it out. When I'm a business person in there as a general counsel, I'm not just putting out fires, I'm preventing fires to begin with. I'm building a better house so that the house isn't going to burn down when there is a fire someday. And that strategy, that partnership, and that's what I realized, that's what I really loved about student government. Actually, it wasn't politics at all. It was definitely not politics. It was this idea of getting a team together of diverse backgrounds and rallying around a common cause and accomplishing an objective. That's what I loved. That's really what made me tick. I didn't figure it out until I was 40 years old, though. So that goes back to my point. These things meander. A good friend told me about a position at an automotive company. I joined at 40. That was my midlife crisis. It is by far one of the best things that I have ever done. We were acquired by private equity, actually one of the largest private equity funds a little over a year ago. And it's fascinating because I work all over the world. So on my team, I've got an attorney in Shanghai, in Germany, and Mexico City, and Brazil. You want to talk about diverse backgrounds. Every single one of those countries have different assumptions, different cultures they bring to the table. And it's cool because I'm not a Chinese lawyer or a German lawyer or a Mexican. So I've got to go in and kind of learn enough to be dangerous, right? Like, you know what? I don't know anything about Argentinian law, but we're just sued there. So I got to figure this out today. And that is the fountain of youth. I mean, I feel some days, not every day, but some days I feel like I'm 20 years younger, because every single day I am learning something new about the world that I have never learned before. You know, we have a business in Moscow. And so trying to figure out, what do? You've got to simultaneously comply with EU, US, and Russian law all at the same time. It's fascinating. So you hire these local attorneys and you learn, and that has been one of the greatest gifts I've got, but I never could have predicted this when I was at OU. But man, those skills I use every single day. I talked a lot. I'm going to pause and let other people speak, but I really appreciate the time.
Oh my God, Adam, that was really exciting and so cool, because what you're emphasizing is that deep thematic connection in every English and creative writing class, which is cooperation and empathy, right? Because you have to utilize those skills to make the connections, to bring people aboard and to work with people with diverse backgrounds. So that was just really rousing. And by the way, I loved following your career because I am a Rochester Hills citizen. So I was just so ecstatic when you became a council member here. That was really fun for me. But you know, life goes on. So okay, I would like to now turn to who did I have next? Kyle Minton. Kyle is the recruiting manager for the tech group. I think that's right.
Yeah, that is correct. Tech group, also one of Adam's constituents. So hi, Adam.
I think Tech Group was a former client too back in the day. I think I worked with Larry there.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. You know, that's funny.
That's right.
It's a small world. Networking, guys, it's so important. So I graduated OU in 2012. My mom was a teacher, single mom was a teacher, so I wasn't really exposed to a lot of jobs, and I was like, I'm ride or die. I'm going to be a teacher. That's why I got the English degree. I was going to be an English teacher, secondary education. And one of the really killer things about OU that not a lot of other universities do is they give you undergraduate classroom experience in their secondary education program. And I realized teaching wasn't for me. So, which was a great lesson. I feel like some people don't learn that lesson early enough. So I just was like, all right, forget it. I'm just gonna go, just get an English degree and see what I can do. And I was so terrified, which is why I love to do events like this, because it's like I'm just hearing all these horror stories about how the English majors can't get jobs and it's a useless degree and blah, 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 blah. So I was really worried. I went to career services and I went to job fairs, and I always loved this story. I went to the OU job fair with the ENG name tag for English. And then all these employers saw I was an engineer. So they were all wanted to talk to me. And I was like, oh, God. Yeah, I'm a word engineer, not quite mechanical. So it was great, but I was able to get my resume a lot of places. And luckily at the time, and I really do advocate this, like Quicken Loans was just indiscriminately giving jobs to like new graduates, and I figured I didn't have anything to lose, and I just needed to get some experience on my resume. So they were like, yeah, English, here you go, here's a job in talent acquisition. So I worked in talent acquisition and just was lucky enough to really fall in love with it. And I through talent acquisition, I worked at Quicken for a little bit. Now I'm at Tech Group. We service automotive suppliers as well as civil architecture engineering firms and biomedical fields, and lots of different. When you work in recruiting, you get exposed to so many different jobs. I learned about so many different jobs that I had no idea existed when I was in college. So you'll hear a lot of themes on this call. I think you've heard every single person from like Chanel to Adam talk about just researching different jobs and getting experience. I can't stress that enough, how important that is. Just also there's this really cool feature or thing that you can always ask people to do called just an informational interview, where you interview people that look like they're in jobs that you think are really cool or that you'd be really interested in. You interview them, talk about how they got their job, ask them. You can approach them on LinkedIn, you can shoot them a message, connect to people. I think it was said on the onset of this call, a lot of people really like to help new graduates because everybody was in that seat at some point, and everybody remembers how, just sort of terrifying it is, and not necessarily knowing what you want to do, especially in the liberal arts world, especially in English and creative writing. So I'd be happy. I'm sure anybody who does a call like this would probably be happy to do an informational interview with you, talk to you about their job, talk to you about their career. It's also just a great way to network. So can't stress that enough. Also, I think Chanel mentioned having a portfolio. I definitely second that. I think when I was looking for jobs and I was in panic mode, I missed out on opportunities in journalism and tech writing, because as soon as the okay, yeah, shoot me your writing portfolio question came up, I was like, okay, right, I don't have one of those. And you have this great opportunity in college. You have so much time. It probably doesn't feel like you do, but you do actually have a lot of time to generate that portfolio, and anything works. If you have a college paper that you're really particularly proud of, if you wrote an opinion piece for the Oakland Post, if you helped your friend set up a website and you did copy or anything like that, throw that all on some sort of like website. You could do a free Wix site. You can do all sorts of different portfolio sites, or portfolio like templates. And I highly recommend having something, just so that question doesn't stop you in your job search there. And I think like leverage, obviously everybody thinks of English majors as good writers, and so that opens up a lot of doors, and things like tech writing or social media is really popping off for English degrees. Everybody needs people to do content writing, content management, things like that. But also English majors, I think, are undervalued as really good readers. I know at my company, I kind of rose through the ranks simply because I could take a really, really boring resume and read it. Like I can take like a lot of times people get really fed up reading like really technical documents or things that don't make a whole lot of sense to them right away, and they're really bad at like dealing with boredom when it comes to reading things. So a lot of people brought things to my attention, and it's been really good for my career in that sense. There's lots of jobs like in the business analytics world, even in the data world. I think a lot of times people discount English majors as not numbers people, but we are all very good at kind of getting into the minutia of anything, be it letters, be it numbers, whatever. So there are lots of different avenues you could go there. And again, yeah, network, informational interviews, and just researching different types of jobs. Even if you're just going to a job board and typing jobs near me, and just kind of reading the different ones. I can get with Annie and some of the other folks on this call, because I also have a lot of exposure to different job boards. And I can send a list of like very specific job boards, a job board for just remote work, a job board for just creative work or writing work. And then the only other thing I might suggest is, if you're really, really, really desperate for experience, there is like work to be had in like gig work and writing content. And there are also boards and websites for that as well, where you can, maybe you can go help people write resumes, or you can go help people write copy, because they just kind of farm these jobs out. That stuff can all go onto a portfolio. That stuff can all go onto a resume. That's just another option there for you.
Thank you so much, Kyle. That was terrific. And oh my God, talent acquisition. I didn't even know that that's what recruiting is called now. And also the informational interview. Oh my goodness. I hope everyone really takes that advice to heart, because people are generous. I mean, if they don't want to help you, they'll just not answer your emails. So it's no big loss then. So this is how you network. This is how you reach out. I love your advice about the portfolio too, because that is snippets from your various writing classes, and that can be, a huge range of different subjects, right? It doesn't have to just be English papers. It's all sorts of stuff. But I love that you can just reach out via LinkedIn. Terrific information. And then I before we go to the Q&A, I want to go to Aaron Hall, who is the he works in the Macomb County Prosecutor's Office as an attorney. And so I'm going to just let you give us the specifics, Aaron.
Well, thank you, Professor Gilson. This is a lot of fun. Really appreciate the opportunity and hope a lot of the students that watch this in the future learn some things about it. One of the things that I notice is it seems like a lot of people are connected to law in this group. So, which is, you know, I didn't necessarily know I wanted to be a lawyer when I was an English major. I think everybody thinks maybe I'll just get a PhD and be like a wonderful professor. But then you know, realize those are some serious books. But I think the benefit of English, and so many of you have touched on this, is that you can, it's in the details, you can teach yourself so many different things. And so whenever you go into law school after that, if that's what you choose to do, or if you choose to go into business, just like Kyle was saying, I mean, he became a technical guy with some numbers stuff. I've kind of developed specialties in different areas that my undergrad, I wouldn't have thought that would prepare me for it, except that was the exact preparation that I needed. Because whenever you're reading some text from 300 or 400 years ago, it's essentially a different language. And whenever you're learning, whether I'm the chief of the probate unit at the prosecutor's office. Before I started at the prosecutor's office, I worked as a business attorney at the Macomb County Circuit Court. I was a research attorney. Primarily I focused on the business court. So I shifted from business law with complex commercial litigation and contracts and litigation disputes all the way to criminal law. And English has been a major part of that throughout the entire thing, because there are, one thing about it, whatever you do in your career, you're telling a story and you have a human element to it. No one understands the human element, especially if you studied any type of literature. You get that just emotional human connection. And right now I deal with a lot of victims and cases. So you're meeting with people, and it creates empathy. It creates the way to truly connect with other individuals. The other thing that's great about law, and especially I know we got a lot of Oakland County folks here, and I'm glad to represent the Macomb County Coalition. I know there's a lot of Macomb County folks that go to OU because it's a wonderful school. And I think we have some satellite spots where people are able to go as well. But the thing is that internships, you got to do internships. And if you're wanting to go into the government, all those internships, unfortunately, at least all the ones I did, they're unpaid. So you may have to work at Starbucks like I did. And then you realize, you know what, once you're a barista, it's not that different from being a prosecutor. So you're just dealing with people's demands on specific cases, and you're able to make it the right way and have a good resolution. I think that I saw a lot of people worked at the Writing Center. I worked at the Writing Center. It helped me gain confidence in not being afraid of the written word. I think so many people in today's age are just scared because they see a document or a scary email. The benefit that English majors have is that they can get served a serious email or a paper or a legal document or something, and they're like, oh, that's no big deal. And so I think that confidence that you develop with the written word is so valuable, whatever career you search out. I do believe in cold calling people. I've had a couple of people. We have a robust internship program at the Macomb County Prosecutor's Office. So if anybody, and we have it for undergrads and law students. So if anybody is interested, I have a good connection with the internship coordinator. I've gotten a lot of people internships, and some of the interns I've written letters of recommendation for after the fact. Even when I felt like I didn't have time, I've written letters, and they've gone on to get jobs. And the people that hired those individuals called me and said, we hired so-and-so because of your letter. So I care about, helping the next generation. So, but everybody does. And so I think you guys, the benefit is like, you just got to reach out, be willing to cold call people. And so my email is in there. It's aaron.hall@macombgov.org. Email me if you want to get an internship. It will be unpaid, and sometimes you can get school credit. I know some law schools, they also do externship credit or internship credit, but externships I think you pay for. But yeah, you can get a lot of credit, valuable experience. If you're in, I see internship credit through the English department in the chat. So we have a great opportunity for every person that wants to get involved. And realistically, I don't know, but I think being in the prosecutor's office it's a very fulfilling role. I've done a lot of different legal jobs, and I've been around a lot of different attorneys. And it sounds like Adam has found a really cool and fulfilling career throughout his journey. But you, at the end of the day, as a prosecutor, I mean, there's a reason they make so many TV shows based on prosecutors, because there is something about you're in the action, and it's exhilarating. When I was a research attorney, my main client was the judge, basically, and so I would talk with the judge, and I would talk with some of the other research attorneys, and we would come up with an opinion. The thing is that you would, if you're a social individual, that is not the best job for you. If you want to be essentially a librarian, it's a great job for you. The other thing I'd say is that don't think that your first job is your only job, especially nowadays. Like you can transition in so many different ways in areas. When I started as a research attorney, I never thought about being a prosecutor. I thought I was going to transition to a business firm. But then as a research attorney, I'd watch some of these trials. I'm like, you know what? I think that would be kind of a fun thing to do, and maybe I could see myself in there. And because of my writing experience at the research department, I was able to transition into the appellate department at the prosecutor's office. And then from the appellate department, I've been able to transition to a lot of different spots. Now I'm the chief of the probate unit, a deputy chief of specialty treatment courts. I've been in forfeiture units, appeals, district courts, so many different units that it all opened up because of my English degree. So there are so many opportunities that you have. I can't emphasize enough that it is such a benefit to have an English degree, and I'm grateful. And also it helps because when you're busy working, you can still find time to speed read through a good novel because you've read so many in your career. So I'm happy to take any questions. I'm sorry I'm the last one. I think if somebody's waiting on some food, I'm trying to be as quick as possible.
Oh, that was wonderful, Aaron. Thank you so much. And it's just so crazy. Like, I did not plan or know that there were all these connections between all y'all. So anybody have questions or anybody want to add anything, having heard this just terrific presentation? Oh my goodness.
I have two questions, actually. The first one is, does anyone know if the Writing Center is hiring? Because
for next year, yes, they are for next year.
I'm applying.
You have to take a class in order to apply, but I'm pretty sure they're always hiring.
So I am technically also an alumni. I am one of the creative writers that are saying there is nothing to do with my degree, So maybe I should look into the Writing Center if it's possible. I don't know.
Yeah, you definitely should. I didn't have to take a class to work there, Katie.
Maybe it's changed. I did it like
Yeah.
a decade ago. So
Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't. Yeah, you should definitely
Good.
apply.
It
They
wasn't a
hire
great
like every
class.
year because people graduate. So
Right.
it's awesome there.
They're hiring now for next fall.
Okay. I'll be looking into that. My second question was it's like a half of a question. We mentioned technical writing, technical writing, communication, marketing, development assistant, public relations, content editor, copywriting, editing, publication. Am I missing anything?
I'm gonna
That's my
throw
question.
in project management. I know a couple people with English degrees in project management roles.
Several people at my firm have English degrees and work in also like administrative stuff. So a bit more of like that HR thing, but our office manager had an English degree and like a focus on Shakespearean stuff, weirdly. So
That's all I got.
Well, I would just add the digital marketing, PR, also the communications and marketing assistant, and then also the search engine optimizing, which I had to write down because I'd never heard of it. But all y'all, you guys are the ones who are in that world now. So anybody else have any ideas off the top of their heads?
I do know several people who do freelance content writing for like a full-time position, so you can kind of juggle a couple different ones, especially if you're working remote. I do a hybrid one actually, because I started remote because I started this job in 2020, which was very weird. So no handshakes at the interview. That was a little odd. My first day, they sent me home at lunch. They were like, "Okay, here's your computer, go." But then now I come into the office once a week, and that works well for me because then I still get to interact with the people that I work with, but then I can also have the flexibility of working from home and having like my own more comfortable setup and stuff.
Katie, could you give us an example of the content that you write?
So we do a lot of medical content that are related to the kinds of things that we do. So it'll be like, here's a page on infant seizures. So it'll describe like what symptoms you might see, stuff like that, and then also how it might relate to medical malpractice, because that's how it comes back to our firm. But then we also branch out and do stuff like just informational disability advocacy stuff, anything that could be potentially related, potentially like equipment that a child with cerebral palsy might need. So just a lot of informational content that kind of spans the whole range of what anything could possibly be related and bring somebody back to our firm for what they need.
Nice. And Vanessa, if you want to talk about this further, I was attending a reading that we hosted on campus last week, which was Rachel Gross, who is a science writer for Smithsonian, the New York Times, and a number of other journals. She was an English major. She did not do an advanced degree, but she took certain classes to familiarize herself with medical language, and she is now, full-time science writer. So that this is the crazy adaptive ability that our people have. So those are just a few ideas, but please, if you'd like to talk further, just make an appointment and we can chat about different possibilities.
Just a quick aside regarding creative writing and writing as your job. Sometimes if you are doing nothing but writing as your job, if you intend to do creative writing outside of work, it can burn you out really hardcore. So having a job that's a bit more multifaceted and might not be specifically on the writing process and generating content is sometimes better for your creative writing outside of work.
Yeah, I would second that. I have a job that is like nothing to do with like writing. And what is nice though is that like I just put in like a hard 40 hours and then I have like a lot of time and like resources and things to like put into more creative outlets. So I think that's a really good point, Katie.
Nice. Nice. Any other questions?
I don't know about questions, but I met somebody the other day that was a financial planner. And I'm like, oh, well, what did you study in your undergrad? And they said I was an English major. I'm like, what? And so but they just took some series license classes afterwards, and they passed a bunch of exams. And they said that English helped them because they're people. So it totally, you can teach yourself anything, and so you have the confidence. I feel like the arts get bashed on all the time. You see it in all these articles, worthless degrees and all that, but realistically you can do what you want because you have the ability to read all this complex stuff. Everything's a puzzle, whether it's some old school writing style or a language of finance or a language of medical malpractice or a language, I mean, of recruiting, whatever it is, it's a puzzle and you can figure it out. So I don't be ashamed of your English degree. Don't be like, really, I think you should wear it, proud. So.
Totally agree with that. Good. Anybody else have any other comments, questions?
I'm gonna throw in a don't get discouraged when you're applying for jobs after graduation, because I applied to so many jobs and so many I never got callbacks for, and it's really competitive out there, but just keep applying and you'll get in somewhere. And once you're in, then you can start bouncing around. I don't know how employers feel about job hopping, but honestly, I did it out of college and it really
depends on the
benefited me.
employer.
Yeah, I'd recommend it. Like if you're right out of college and you just kind of need to take a job because you just need a job. And then you can move around, like you're not stuck anywhere, especially with an English degree because it is so versatile. And then internships too. It's not on my resume, but I did do a communication marketing internship in college. That really helped me to get a job after college. I did the creative arts project. I volunteered for that with Annie. That was great. And it's really great to talk about even too in interviews. Yeah, just do like everything you can do. Just really get out there and do things and don't feel discouraged, and you'll get there eventually.
Yeah, you'll throw a lot of job applications out there that nobody will look at and nobody will read, and you'll feel like garbage. So don't. And like Chanel said earlier, apply for stuff you don't think you qualify for, because when they're looking, like when you're interviewing with the person who's actually interacting with the position, it might not one-to-one correspond with every single thing they had on that job listing. So if you have even a few of the skills that you think might be relevant, it might be worth applying just to interview and see if you might actually be a fit based on something that is relevant to that department, because the person who's writing the job description is not always the person who interacts with that position.
Yeah, I want to just add to that a lot of the jobs that are currently listed as open are not actually actively being interviewed for. So you should not take that any rejection or lack of response. It does not mean anything, really doesn't, because they might not even be, they like to keep a job listing out there. This is anyway what I heard on NPR.
This is true. I can confirm.
Yeah.
Or they'll post a job. A lot of times employers, this the unpopular opinion, but a lot of times employers will post, they have to post jobs for like jobs that they are considering people internal for. It's like a policy of theirs. So sometimes you'll run into a lot of those jobs where they're posting something, they have to post it for like a period of so long, but they know there's like a shoe-in kind of internal person for it. There's lots of stuff like that, or yeah, they'll just keep it open. They might not be actively interviewing for it, or it's a pipeline role. They're trying to build applicants for something later. This is all very true. And it also just takes, especially when you're entry level, it takes a lot of applications to get something to stick, for sure. But I did want to say too, if any students listening to this or any students on this, I dropped my my email in the chat. If you send me your resume, I could just stick it in our database. Any jobs we have open now or jobs we have open in the future, my firm could reach out to you, and happy to represent you somewhere. So take advantage of that if you'd like.
Recruiters are cool. They can kind of advocate.
Thank you, Katie. Love to hear that.
Current jobs through a recruiter, so it was really neat to be able to like talk to somebody and then interview and kind of have somebody as an in between, which was super cool.
So cool.
And on a quick note, just on the fact of a long line of either rejections or just a long period of waiting. If you're applying for the government, they're going through like government HR. So it may be 3 months before they get to your job because they have to have the county HR, the local municipality HR review everything, and then schedule every different person that has to approve of the job for them to either be on Zoom or in person. So don't get discouraged if you don't hear back within a week, like sometimes in private practice where they'll say yes or no. Whereas in government, you may get an email oh, we're available for an interview, and you've already accepted a job a month ago. So that's something to be aware of. Just kind of know the field that you're applying in, and don't get discouraged.
Oh my gosh, this is just such a wealth of information. I learn so much every time we host these things, and you guys are all amazing and rocking. And plus now you can, you all have each other's information, so you all can network too, because that's the name of the game. And I hope everyone who's here in the moment and listening to this recording realizes that every person you know in the classroom, your professors, people you meet on campus, people you're just walking down the street and having a casual conversation with, it's a potential networking moment. And that sounds transactional, and I don't mean it like that, because anyone who knows me knows that I'm not a transactional person. I just mean that if there's 1,000 applicants for a job and you happen to talk to someone and then they happen to know someone who's at that company, your application will rise to the top. And that is how it works, because nobody wants to read 1,000 applications. We want to make, like, we trust the people in our network. We like, I know everyone here, and I'm all like, you guys are righteous and amazing. So I would totally trust you. And I would only send you people that I believed in, right? So that's how it works.
Mhm.
All right. Well, Rachel, anything else from your end?
No, I think we're all set. If you have any questions about internships, make sure you reach out to one of us. We have some organizations and companies that we've partnered with for a long time, and we can give you some more information about doing the internship for credit as well. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Oh
Thanks,
my God.
everyone.
Thank you.
Love y'all.
See ya.
Good luck.
Wow.
Bye.